All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Robert Smirking Gun Reviews, and we are back with more Ozark Season 1. We are at Episode 7 called Nest Box. So, full spoilers if you've not seen the episode. Jam-packed episode, man. Jam-packed. 59 minutes, and man, it is just gonna be hard to get it all out there. So, it's another good episode. Of course, I've loved every episode so far. It has not gotten any worse. In fact, it's ramping up. It's one of those shows where you kind of go, how is there going to possibly be a season 2? So let's just get right into it. So we start right where the last episode left off, where the pastor put the cross up, which basically signs the death warrant to that guy and his wife and their unborn kid. I really like the touch that, like, when Marty's done calling Wendy and telling her, hey, I gotta get over there, that the phone like says, like, if you're satisfied with your message, and he's just like, fuck off. That is such a realistic way to do like, who hasn't just been like that to their phone? It says something to, like, just fuck off. I really like that touch. And so Marty barely gets to the pastor's house as the Snells are getting there, and they are already going down in my book as my least favorite villains of any show. Not because I hate the actors. I just hate these people so much that even though they're portrayed so well, I just hate them. I hate them so much. And I don't know if it's because they're redneck hillbilly assholes, but it doesn't help. So they do their subtle threats without threats against the pastor. It's basically a dance for Marty to try to talk his way in between that situation of, hey, I'm giving money to them, they wanted a recommendation from you, blah, blah, blah. Where Marty ends up sacrificing the money that he had left for Dell to wander and has to give it to these fuckholes. So the pastor lives to fight another day, but at the cost of all the money. And that's another reason why I'm just like, ugh. And so now we have, like, okay, so Jonah has been studying up on starlings on the internet about how they're invaders, and that they kill like tons of other species and crops and things like that, and that he ends up wanting to hunt them. He wants a hunting license so he can kill these birds. Now, part of me wonders if this story kind of has to do with what's going on in the show, a little bit of some sort of symbolism about invaders coming and wiping things out. Kind of feels like they're talking about his father a little bit, somebody who just shows up and kind of picks at things until there's nothing left, and that what's left out back is like unrecognizable and unusable and destroyed. Kind of surprised myself there for a second. I didn't know I was going to say all that. But anyway, not patting myself on the back. Just sometimes you can surprise yourself with what comes out of your mouth. So to get back with the whole hunting thing, they're like, we don't want you killing anything. I mean, he's already been dragging dead corpses of animals, so they don't really care for this idea. We've got Charlotte, who's, at the end of her emotional rope, wanting to go home. We all know this can't happen without there being a death sentence. I mean, things are already really hard, and this isn't going to help. But I get it, this is a terrible situation they're in. Let's see. Well, the Langmores. Roy is talking to his partner and lover, sort of, about how they're going to set up Ruth and Marty and all this and how it's going to work. But he can't tell his partner / lover that he's been banging Langmore. But in the end, he kind of like gives up. Roy kind of gives up and says you can have him, like, basically. But that doesn't sound good. Because Roy is pretty, I don't know, he's kind of nuts. And speaking of Langmore, I mean, the the conversation that him and that guy Boyd have in that little raft about how this Boyd guy, everybody considers him stupid, but he pretty much knows that Russ is gay and that he wants to live a different life, and that this thing, like that they're doing and the things that he's saying are kind of a not a cry for, like he just wants out of this. And that Boyd kind of says, like, I know what you're talking about, but Russ, being a man's man, kind of hides it. Just afraid of that he hit Ruth, who is still getting closer to Marty and his family, and seeing that how close they are, even in such dire circumstances. They treat her well. Her family, like her dad's an emotionally abusive person. Russ is I don't know what, he's just a piece of garbage. You got her brothers who just need somebody to show them a proper way to live. And you got this guy named Boyd who's just a hanger-on. So it's, I like that they still haven't made her just this one-dimensional person, that she is somebody who is yearning for real family. All right, so what else do we got here? We have the pastor and his wife having this conversation, because Marty has to tell them, like, look, eventually, they're just not getting it through their heads, and tells them everything about the Snells. And so him and his wife, they have it out, and she's being realistic, and he's still thinking that the bullet that almost killed him was like divine intervention. And she finally has to tell him, it was not divine intervention, man. Like, wake up. Like, God is not going to protect our kid. These people are drug dealers. They will kill us, and they will not think twice. Which leads him to go to the Snells, which is another terrible idea, because they're having a party, and he decides to tell them, and he knows everything. But in the end, all it gets him is realization of what his wife said, which leads him to burn the church down, and he'll have to go back to the water, or presumably back to the water, to save his family's life. The pig is where they, at the party that those Snells were having, where the pastor goes to talk to them, they were cooking that thing. I also like in this Jonah's discussion about the drug trade and how it saved the possible financial collapse of 2008. His reasoning is very funny, even though it's the typical, all the kids are laughing, and he's basically showing how much smarter he is than his teacher. My favorite part of this, though, is when they transition to the principal's office, and he's still talking, basically giving the same speech twice to his principal, and Marty's sitting there looking at him. And instead of looking at him like disapprovingly, he looks like at his son with like admiration at how much his son knows and how smart he is. He's just kind of like, And even after the talk, like, he's just kind of like, oh, so that's really funny. Okay, so we also have this mystery guy who shows up at one of the Wendy's open houses, and immediately, I mean, come on, that this where this is going. They wouldn't have a scene where a guy walks into a room like, oh, it's not open yet? Well, can you show me other houses? And he, it doesn't hurt that he also looks like, Latino, which leads you to go, okay, he's cartel. Seen enough, episodes of Breaking Bad to know where this is headed. So yeah, he knows everything about them, knows where the kids are, and basically he's just trying to make sure it's, there's one of these situations. But he's been sticking around, and now he's another thorn in their side, because the Snells have eyes on that guy, and everybody wants to kill Marty. Ruth's dad wants him dead. The Snells want him dead. You've got people kind of going back and forth on whether they want him dead or alive. Russ and Roy having their thing where, Russ telling him, like, this money that we're gonna get because Marty's being dead. Roy trying to talk him out of it, because, he's got to keep him on the hook, to get more information, to turn him, to flip him, to get him to give evidence against Marty and everything else that's been going on. And it's kind of sad for Russ, who is, has fallen for this so hard that he, even made, pamphlets for their fly fishing thing that is going to go nowhere. Sorry, there's like a fly or a little bug flying around in here. So it's kind of sad, like Roy looks at him kind of like with pity, not like love or anything. He's just kind of like, wow, this guy's, I really got my hooks into him, and this is not going to turn out well for him at all. Charley goes missing, and with this guy in town, she could be kidnapped, but it turns out, yeah, she just ran away. And this is also cool where Ruth kind of gets to see how the family really cares about each other, where they would really, even in a runaway situation, when they find Charlotte at the bus station, they're still close. They're not trying to like yell at each other and put each other down like her family does. And it makes it even worse when she has to go to the jail and her dad basically telling her, you look like a whore. You didn't do your job, even though she knows she did. And, they're just making her feel bad and telling her she can't come back until she kills Marty. And then she has to get in the car with his wife and his daughter. So poor Ruth's got quite a lot of things going on. And the reasons for her to help her family are quickly falling because she's really building a life because of Martin Bird. Speaking of Martin Bird, I wanted to talk quickly about his destroyed relationship with the girl at the Blue Cat. In that last episode, like how happy she was and really flirtatious. Like, man, she wanted a piece of Marty right there. But then how it changed by the end when she saw the books and just all those good feelings were destroyed. I just want to touch on that real quick because I really like that whole transition of like how great she was feeling to like how ultimately what she felt was right at the beginning of not trusting Marty. So then we have, goodness gracious, let's see, what am I forgetting? Okay, so the prison there, that's for when she went to the prison. Then we got the goggles. So Charlotte comes home, goes for a swim, and this is where Marty and Wendy have it out. So the goggles come in there. They have it out. They talk a lot about, there's just so much that Marty's not saying about everything that's gone on. Starting with like the betrayal. He keeps talking about betrayal, and he's never talked about what happened with him and his partner and just everything, and he blames her for all of this. And I mean, there's just blame to go around, but he has not really, he expects all this honesty and loyalty, but he hasn't really given them any, he's just been kind of pushing things along. He hasn't really shown much affection for anybody or any reason for anybody to be loyal to him, except out of just general survival, like not getting killed. Like they would all leave if they had a chance to live. So without any kind of like real affection being shown by Marty, his family doesn't have that much of a reason to stick around. And Wendy's kind of right to want, she's right to want her kids to have a life. And it's Marty's fault, and her kind of by extension of letting it go on, that they don't and that their kids can't. So I definitely feel like I've missed a couple of things, but there's so much. Oh, the real estate agent. So Marty figures out that if they can get her money, the real estate agent's mother's money, that will solve the money that they lost, and they will have everything for Dell, and it'll all be ready to go. They aren't short any money. And then when he brings the next, he'll see that it works, and he'll bring the next load, and things can carry on and grow and whatever, and everybody will be okay. And maybe they won't have their lives, hanging over their heads after this little experiment works. But the real estate agent can't take the abuse from his mother anymore, can't take her not listening and making him feel like a small person. And he fires her, and she wants the money back because he tells her Marty and Wendy, they're married, this whole thing, is a trick for, and so she wants her money back. But she's also kind of refusing to be fired. And so she goes outside to put those signs up, the real estate signs up, and they still are fighting in the yard. And the cliche of walking into the road when you're not paying attention. Look, it's an old cliche now. It just keeps happening over and over in movies, TV, everywhere you go. Somebody steps into the road, pow. But for some reason, I never get tired of it because they're usually people that you want to see get run over. You're just kind of tired of their mouth or their attitude or just as general personality. So when she gets hit by the fucking garbage truck or whatever that was, I was just like, that's pretty funny. So anyway, if I'm forgetting anything, I apologize. Call me out in the comment section if anybody wants to make a comment in this video. But anyway, if you like this video, please hit the like button, comment, share, subscribe, notifications, all that jazz. Like I was saying in my last video for The Expanse, we hit 200 subscribers. We're at 203. That's amazing. So all of you that watch these videos, all of you that subscribe because you watch these videos, I just want to thank you all again for all the support. This is amazing. Just, it means so much. So anyway, we will see you on the next video of Ozark. Make sure to check out any of the other videos that we've got. We've got videos for Meet the Feebles, which is a crazy puppet movie from 1989. And The Man in the High Castle, The Expanse. We've got Orange is the New Black, Handmaid's Tale, Westworld, all sorts of stuff. So this is Rob Force, Smirking Gun Reviews, saying it's been a long day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.